with many Ghanaian businesses struggling to stay afloat.
But addressing this subject in a radio interview on Techiman-based Link FM as part of his tour of the Bono East region, President Akufo-Addo said the evidence of government borrowing is available for everyone to see, describing calls for comparison as misplaced.
If the economy is not strong, it is impossible for you to do many things. Because we had a weak economy, you couldn't pay teacher training allowances, you couldn't pay nurses training allowances, you couldn't recruit people into the public sector, NHIS claims could not be paid because we had a weak economy. And so, in roads, railways, in agriculture, in industry, all of these things. You make a comparison between what happened in my time in terms of additions to the gross domestic product and to the national output compared to his. It's a comparison between cheese and chalk.
Cheese and chalk. I know what you want.
That's the comparison. You all can do it. I don't mind.
Okay.
I don't mind. He can speak his mind. He's a Ghanaian.
That's right.
Well, he is in the Bono region after all. I remember that that is one of those places hardest hit by the DKM collapse and other savings and loans collapse back in the day. Well, let's stay with the president in the part of the country, and because for customers of the defunct micro savings and loans company DKM, he says there's good news. According to the president, payment of the funds locked up so far will start this month.
Apart from a few who will be paid by the end of this month, by the end of September, which I will say, by the end of September, not a single claimant, DKM claimant, will be there. September.
I want to bring in, Nana Kwabena Yadom speaks for the customers of DKM. They've been protesting and challenging government to pay them for quite some time. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. You heard the president there. He is promising categorically that the payments will be done this month. Your reaction? Hello, Nana. Well, the president is still in the Bono East region, and a while ago, he paid a courtesy call on the paramount chief of Techiman, Osadeyo Ekumfi Ameya, who is thankful to the president for the creation of the region. And as a Betesi correspondent will join us now, we'll bring back Nana Kwabena Yadom shortly. He speaks for the customers of DKM. Tell me, Anas, you've been with the president today. What has been his message?
To the president, his visit is simply to pay a courtesy call on the traditional authorities. As I speak to you now, he's inaugurating the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, and that event is ongoing. But he has paid a courtesy call on the Nananum of the area. He visited the Omahine of Techiman. He has visited the Queen Mother of the Chewodom Traditional Council. Also yesterday, he visited the Atewu Sine East and Sine East areas where he visited the chiefs and people there. His mission is to thank them for trying him to be the president for 4 years. He's calling on them to renew his mandate so that he will continue with the policies he has started in the next 4 years. So basically, that has been the message the president has been calling on the chiefs and people of this area. Aside the various sword cutting and then commission of projects he has been undertaking since he visited, his message is to beg the people to try him again for another 4 years.
How has he been received there?
In fact, it's been massive, especially to the eastern part of the Bono East region, precisely Sine East, Sine West, and then the Atebubu Mountain area. There's this, old age road. There is the almighty Atebubu Kwame Danso Kojo Krom road that has been abandoned by previous administrations. He did cut a sword for the construction of that stretch, which is about 35 kilometers of road project. In fact, the people there have engaged prior to the sword cutting were extremely excited to that particular one, and they are hopeful that this particular, that particular road project there's been a shortcutting on that stretch before by the late John Evans Mensah, but after the shortcutting, nothing happened. So this time around, the people are hopeful that after this shortcutting, at least they are going to see bitumen on that particular stretch, and that has brought a lot of smiles to the people who have engaged in those areas, Evans.
Anasabi, thank you very much. Nana Kwame Yadom rejoins us on a better line. He represents the customers. He himself is a victim of that particular collapse. Thank you very much, Nana. You heard the president today. He's assuring your money to be paid this month. Your reaction?
Yeah, thank you. Let me take this opportunity to greet all your listeners. Yeah, it's true. Now they are starting paying the DKM money last 2 weeks. So now everything is on process. Now they are still paying the money.
Okay. You are confident that, as the president has assured, all of you will get paid by the end of the month. You have confidence that will happen?
Yeah, they say all of us will actually, if you pass through the process and your documents are genuine, you will receive your money the next day or the next 24 hours. So they are still paying. So the money is on process now.
I'm grateful for your time confirming what the president has said today. But before we conclude on President's tour, he has been responding to the comments made by John Mahama. Very interesting comments about his life. He claims it's in the hands of God. President Akufo-Addo's response to an analogy of age, death, and borrowing by former President Mahama.
Inquire, and now who obey me, Sadie, if you know how never, if you know me, never, Yakupon is here. Well, who will now for when you such a when you call, the time will be back there. And you need the sentence, and Yakupon the sentence. It's with a honor, maybe that's right. So, opposite one.
Well, what was he responding to? This is John Mahama.
I, at my age, I'm going to live shorter. Nana Akufo-Addo is going to live shorter.
What do you make of all that? Join me with your thoughts. 0244340437. I'll share with the rest of the world shortly. We're still on the election. You're still here on your election headquarters. From the president, let's go to the vice president to go see Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been hitting hard at the front runner of the opposition NDC, the flag bearer of the opposition NDC, stating that the economy they inherited, the NPP inherited from him, cannot fund any of the monumental programs being implemented by the Akufo-Addo administration. According to him, the former president's track record of infrastructure in the northern region is insignificant. Speaking during a Durbar in Drapa district of the Upper West, Dr. Bawumia called on the residents there to vote massively for the MPP government in the December polls.
So you see that there's a big difference between the economy that John Mahama used to manage and the economy that Nana Akufo-Addo is managing. The economy of John Mahama could not even afford 70 million Ghana cedis for the trading, added NAPCO, reduced electricity prices, added BEC exam, added the WAPC exam, free water, free electricity, and it is still going. There's a difference, a clear difference. Today, John Mahama, who said the free SHS was not possible or he would not spend the money on it, NDC said it was 419. You heard them say, and today they want us to give the government to them to handle free SHS. Can we trust free SHS with them? Can we give them the free SHS to manage? They have zero credibility when it comes to free SHS. They never believed it in the first place. It is Nana Akufo-Addo who believed in it, dreamt about it, gave birth to it, and is implementing it for the benefit of all of us.
And that is the vice president, of course, touring the northern part of the country. This is your election quotas. To the NDC now, the people voted for you to empower them, not to intimidate them. Those are the words of NDC running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, to government. Now, Professor Opoku-Agyeman also questioned if the country is practicing democracy, judging from what she says has become the frequent attacks on free speech. She argues that stifling free speech could be a recipe for disaster, since the electorate could be forced to express themselves through violent means. She made these comments during a working visit to the Media Foundation for West Africa.
We need to build strong institutions, independent institutions. They will not be built with fear and harassment and all kinds of impediments that are not helpful. You see, freedom of expression is so important. And it's important because what are you expressing? So it starts in the mind. And if you stifle the expression, it stays in the mind. And thoughts they will come out in other ways. Okay, and they will come out mostly in ways that are not comprehensible, because they have not come out through dialogue. And that is why it's so dangerous to silence people. And I think that we all need to understand, by intimidating and so on, you are rather creating a very, very unsafe society. So, as I said, the person invests his power in you by voting. That is all. Then what do? You return that power by addressing the person's needs. You don't return that power by being arrogant. You don't return that power by believing you are better than other people. Because those people put you there. And you should never forget that. They don't expect that you stifle their speech because they voted for you. They don't expect that you take decisions without their input. And they don't expect that you be violent or you intimidate them. I don't think that is what the uses of power should be, especially when that power has been invested in you. And I think that part also needs to form part of our dialogue, so that all this arrogance and so on will go down. If you don't want to serve, don't come. I don't think there's any compulsion on anybody to go and ask for a vote. So I think that all of these are things, and we need the media to make that happen. We need the media terribly, more than ever. All these radio stations and so on and so forth. It's not about how loud your voice is. It's not about how I don't say how well you insult, because I don't think there's anything like that. It's not about a competition on insults. We don't have that culture. We shouldn't entertain that culture. We shouldn't raise the next generation of that. It will be at everybody's peril. And maybe that is part of the reason why we are going back and forth, take one step forward, 5 steps back. Then we sit here and we complain about countries we started with and how they have gone ahead. And I said, why wouldn't they go ahead? And do you think that they built their country on insults? Do you think they built it on arrogance? They built it on hard work. They built it by respecting people. They built it by recognizing that human development is at the heart of the economy. And all of these that we need to pay attention.
My colleague Parker Wilson traveled with the running mate to John Mahama. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Parker, so this was, from what I understand, part of a general visit to several civil society organizations. Did she explain why this strategy?
Yes, so Evans, she says that the NDC acknowledges the work of the CSOs in the country, and they know their contribution towards nation building as well. And so as a party waiting to be in government next year, it is important to understand the concerns of the CSOs and also understand how they can partner them in governing the country if they win the election on December 7th. And that is why today she decided to tour a number of CSOs. She went to Star Ghana Foundation, visited IDEC, went to Media Foundation, and then later Amnesty International. So these are the CSOs that the running mate visited. And then she's hoping to go round again tomorrow to visit others as well.
Okay. And what sort of reaction is she getting from these meetings with the CSO?
Well, largely the concerns raised by CSOs are that there is quite some communication gap between government and the CSOs. And for them, when a party is in opposition, they tend to get close to the CSOs. But the moment they assume power, the CSOs become more like an enemy to them. But the point they were making was that whatever they say is in the interest of the nation. And so they are asking the NDC to put in mechanisms or structures that when they are in power, the CSOs can easily have access to them and also help them govern this country when the time comes.
Parker, thank you very much. Now, in the latest in a series with communities where we take the microphones there for them to simply tell us in their own words what will influence their decision in the December election so that they can speak directly to all these candidates who are crisscrossing the country trying to win hearts and minds. Well, we are in Cape Coast today, Cape Coast North to be very specific, and Voters' Voice has been given the microphones over to market women there to tell us what key issues are of concern to them. Take a listen to some residents of Ibra who the microphones were handed over to.
2020. You be sure, Nana. Yeah. My car was there. I am a good father. One to one. Adam, Mama, a good father. Adam, Mama, want to mind that. Never. I will go. I have family. Come on. A good father. Never. I go. I have family. Come on. Mama, come on.
So, listening to Joy 99.7 FM, this is News Night, your election headquarters. Well, we're hearing from the Transport Minister tonight, Christian Oforiatta, and he's been to Parliament today, appearing before the Public Accounts Committee, and he says the government does not feel threatened by NDC flag bearer John Mahama's promise to legalize commercial motorbikes. He says government has already begun stakeholder consultations on whether or not to review the law to legalize the Okada business. But he says that was not inspired by former President Mahama's campaign promise. Now, speaking to journalists after appearing before Parliament's Accounts Committee, sitting at which the Okada issue was raised, Mr. Siama said the ongoing consultation is what will determine whether the law should be amended.
The government make its position clear on it. The government, we are now doing stakeholder consultation on the matter, and whatever position will come out clear, we make it public to the people of this country to know. But as today, the position of Okada is in what is stated in 21.8.
One of the possible outcomes could be that after the consultation, if the people push for it, this government will buy into the idea.
Possibilities are not what the law says. The possibility is what the people say.
So are you going to review the law?
I am saying that we are doing stakeholder consultation on the matter, and when we are done, we will make it public for you.
How long should we expect this stakeholder consultation to take?
You see, in coming up with the law, it's not about speed, it's about accuracy.
One of those possible outcomes be the position that John Mahama has taken at the moment that he wants to see it legalized. You see,
you are asking me the position. I'm not being hoodwinked about what President Mahama promises on his campaign does. What I'm saying is that the state of Okada and what this present government is doing about Okada. That is the position that I'm taking.
Is that promise what is igniting this stakeholder consultation on whether
we started this thing in late 2019 when President John Dramani Mahama has not made any promise to the people.
Anyway.
Let me tell you, the difference between people going on campaign promise and promise, and the people you govern the nation, and we are the party in power. We are governing the nation. So our activities is different from what somebody is promising on his campaign
drain. So that is.
So are you frightened? Are you frightened by what the ex-president has said? As well, it's going to have an effect on your on the election?
Let me tell you, we are not frightened by anything. We are supposed to govern this country to the best of our ability. What will be in the interest of this country? Let us not compare some of these issues and say that somebody has made a campaign promise, so come and respond to it or react to it. That's what I said, that in 2012, when the law was passed to ban the use of, it was not banned, to make it that it was not lawful, it was not legal to use. President John Dramani Mahama was the president. I beg your pardon. If today he had come up and said that if he voted into power, he would change that position, then maybe, I don't know what he did. But we, as a government, know that this is a matter that we need to take our time, consult the people, come out with the views, then it will determine the law that we need to put in place. Because laws are made to be changed because they are not static. If we think that at the end of the day, we need to amend certain law to take cognizance of the day or of the time, we do so. If we think that we need to implement what is there, it depends on the people that we consult, it depends on what you think that is at stake. We will do it.
Well, responding to questions at the park sitting, the Transport Minister also showed the people of the Volta region, the Kita port, to be very specific, that port project is on course, although no structures are on the ground yet. Here's what transpired.
The first thing we needed to do is to secure the land for the place. So on the president's instruction, the Ghana Port and Airport Authority did the coordinates together with the survey department, because the overlord donated an area for indeed, let me say that it is so that the money anything from the government. So I'll commend him for that. And let me say, on the 1st of October 2018, the president issued a executive instrument to declare the area as a port. That was the first thing I did. The second thing he did was to make sure that it shouldn't become a business as usual. Because I've said that in building the port, we need to go through the whole process. And the process that we need to go through is as good as putting the because anything that is set the sea has the potential of disturbing our coast, the entire coastal land. So we have an expert who will give you the level of infrastructure that you need. So what His Excellency did, Mr. Chairman, was to appoint somebody who will pay a particular attention to the area. I could have decided to call the person a project manager. I could have decided to call him a consultant. I chose to call my director of the port.
So where is the director of Penta Port? Where?
Mr. Chairman, he is there.
Is he in the hall here now?
He is not in the hall here.
Is he in your office?
Mr. Chairman, he is in my office.
Has he got an office in Qatar?
Mr. Chairman, we don't have a physical infrastructure at Kita, but when it is that...
So you go there and come back?
Mr. Chairman, when it is that you need to go to assembly and do some work in relation to the board, we have an assembly there that he has been used.
So we can best describe him as a desk officer for Petaport.
Mr. Chairman, I do not want to use it or say that a director is always related to a particular place. In the modern times, when people even have their offices in their cars, it depends where. It is not about the physical infrastructure that determines that somebody is a director of.
Do you have a board in place for Petaport?
At the time, we are in the place.
So you don't have a board now.
Joseph Gakpo is parliamentary correspondent, sat through the sitting today, joins me on the telephone line right now. Joseph, were the members on the park satisfied with the answers they got from the minister?
For those on the minority side, particularly Richard Koshiga, who is the MP for Keta, who raised this particular question, he kept probing until the chairman of the committee, James Lutavedi, told him that they had to pull brakes on further questioning. Essentially, they raising the point that this has been on the books for quite a while. A director has been appointed who is called a director, but currently they think that even that's just a position of someone who is just supervising a project. And for those on the minority side, well, the government needs to fulfill this promise that they've actually made and make do with a situation where the payment and salaries being given to the director of the port is actually something that he's made to work for and really work as the director of the port and get the project out quickly.
Joseph, thank you very much. And Joseph reporting there from Parliament today on the back of the Public Accounts sitting in the House. A few of your messages coming through here on Newsnight. I want to share with you. This is the NDC's running mate new in Ghana. The records are there to show. Flag-bearer said he had the dead goat syndrome and therefore won't listen to anyone. Did she address the needs of training teachers when she cancelled the allowance? A question that is asking. Walanyo Nakwete says John Mahama NDC's is only good at sweet talks. Atu says the ex-president should be mindful of his choice of words. He did the same in the last election and had to apologize for it. This one says, just wondering why any person would defend that colossal amount to be given to Shatawale in the name of brand promotion. It is high time Ghanaians started setting the priorities right. The guy defending the issue could not even give any cogent point. What balance sheet is he referring to? Wake up, MPP. He says that Prince in a dance says, Prof. Nana Jane, did Ghanaians vote for you to come and cancel teachers and nurses allowances? A few of your messages there on our WhatsApp console. Still listening to News Night is on Joy 99.7 FM. George Affe joins me with the very latest from the world of business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, Registrar General optimistic new way for registrations would aid identification and reduce the cost of doing business in the country. And Talo Oil highlights minimal impact of COVID-19 on Ghana operations and group despite posting more than $1 billion loss for half year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, how can we help you?
Look at you, the big boss.
You know they hear.
You know they fear who?
Until somebody says, I will tell your mother.
That's why we say wear a mask or else
we will call your mother.
Hey, why are you disgracing me? Why your mask?
Wear it for her. Wear it for me everywhere you go. MTN. Visit wearit4.me to send a message to someone.
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee.
Yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Puma Drinks, ready to add flavor to your life? Puma Drinks, bursting with so many flavors, you just can't have enough.
The exhibition of the voters register for the 2020 election is here.
The Electoral Commission of Ghana will display the provisional voters register at all polling stations designated as exhibition centers where voters registered recently from 18th to 25th September 2020, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. Do not assume that your name is in the register. Go personally to your polling station with your voter's ID card as evidence to 1. Verify your details of registration to make sure that your name, photograph, and other particulars are in the register. 2. Make claims for omitted data such as name, age, or sex to be included in the register. 3. Amend details such as incorrect name, sex, age, and unclear photographs in the register and on your voter ID card. 4. Know your polling station ahead of the elections. And 5. Object to the inclusion of names of unqualified persons on stated grounds. The EC has introduced a mobile telephony tracking SMS platform to enable registered voters access their registration details using their mobile phones. Very simple. Text your voter ID to 1422 on all networks to verify your details on the voters register. To ensure a safe and secure exhibition of voters register exercise, The Electoral Commission will direct all registrants to observe compulsory protection protocols like wearing of face masks, temperature checks, social distancing and hand sanitizing instituted by government as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic at all exhibition centers. Exhibition of the Provisional Voters Register is from 18th to 25th September 2020. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day, including Saturday and Sunday. Remember, the only way to guarantee that your name is in the voters register is to take part in the exhibition exercise. 2020 Exhibition of the Voters Register exercise. Your safety, our concern.
Participate in the exhibition of the voters register.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Registrar General Department is optimistic that the new way for registrations would aid in easy identification and reduce the cost of doing business in the country. The department will, from the 28th of this month, deploy the Beneficial Ownership Register that will change the way businesses register in the country. Madam Jemima Mawari has been given more details about this on Business Live on Joy News.
We are doing this so that once you complete the prescribed forms, you just download those constitutions, and then once you pay whatever you need to pay once only, your certificate of incorporation. And so we are doing away with the certificate to commence business. That is a major change. And names of companies are now going to have suffixes at the end of the names for clear identification. So if you're a private company and the private company limited by shares, the name of your company is going to end with LTD or Company Limited. If it's a public company, it's going to be either PLC or Public Limited Company. If it's a company limited by guarantee, you have to end it with LBG, that is Limited by Guarantee. The whole idea is we want to be able to identify specifically which kinds of companies we are dealing with at a go.
How significantly do you expect this to contribute to the ease of doing business?
Well, if you are able to complete these forms within the shortest possible time, you wouldn't need to come back to us and come and pay for the certificate to commence business. You do everything once, we give you a certificate, you start your life, you go on with it. I mean, in the past, you'd have to go and come back and come and pay for the second level. The most exciting thing is, I mean, I know people will love that one. You don't need to prescribe your objects unless you're a company regulated by a different entity.
Jemima Mawari is Registrar General speaking to Israel on Business Live on Joy News. Now, oil exploration firm Tullow has highlighted the minimal impact of COVID-19 on its operations in Ghana and the group. This is despite posting the highest loss of $1.3 billion for half year due to some write-offs. The coronavirus has affected many enterprises, causing some of them to actually shut down their operations. But answering questions from investors around the world and in Ghana on its half-year results, Group Chief Executive Raudia says although some staff were affected, some strategic management put in place actually helped control the situation.
From COVID-19 quite well. We've had very strong support from the government. We've had outbreaks on offshore that have impacted both the FPSOs, but we've managed these very effectively and there's been no impact, I'm pleased to say, on our production. And we've had people who've contacted the virus, but they've, again, we're very pleased to say they've all recovered quite well. Safety is a big priority for me, but also for Tullow, it's deeply embedded in the culture here. The statistics for 2020 have worsened, but they've been impacted by a small number of non-critical events.
Group Chief Executive of Tullow Oil, Raudia, speaking from London to investors around the world on its half-year results. Meanwhile, due to the challenging results, Tullow plans not to recommend any interim dividend payout for this year. Now, global provider of energy and commodity prices as Platts is forecasting a marginal pickup in crude prices at the end of this year. It is looking at hitting an average price of $44 a barrel by December this year. Now, speaking at the Chamber of Bulk Distributors and S&P Platts Industry Masterclass, which looked at areas that impacted COVID-19 on petroleum price surprise, Market Engagement Manager at S&P Global Platts, that is John Loretta, said that hearing that going forward maybe hedging could be the best way out to manage the shocks.
Hedging, of course, can cut both ways. It could perhaps be helpful if you were a seller of prices. I mean, if you were a seller of refined products and you hedged in long-term contracts at prices that we saw at the beginning of the year, you're probably doing okay right now because you're still getting basically whatever you locked in at the beginning of the year, even amid these low product prices now. If you're a buyer, it's typically when the prices are a little bit lower, like right now, that you might want to lock in, a long-term agreement at current prices, as long as you expect prices to be basically in this kind of mid-range level right now. So hedging is really that tool that the traders would use to avoid unexpected shocks. The extent to which people hedge is really based on their risk appetite.
Associate Editor at S&P Global Platts, Christopher, speaking at the Chamber of Bulk Distributors S&P Industry Masterclass, which looked at the impact of COVID-19 on petroleum price supply. Now, more airlines have resumed scheduled flights to Accra. It follows the opening of Kotoka International Airport for international travels. Is coming after the easing of COVID-19 restrictions as a reduction in active cases. Joy Business Airline and the Portuguese airline TAB was the first to begin commercial airlines, followed by Ethiopian Airlines and Dutch carrier KLM. Joy Business also understands that other airlines like Air France, Askai, Emirates and British Airways have all joined to actually resume scheduled flights to Accra. So from Accra, you can now get international airlines to connect to any major destination that you want to visit over following the easing of restrictions and opening up of the airport for international travels. The Association of Ghana Industry says it has not abandoned plans to establish a bank. Now, this is despite moves by government to actually put up a national development bank, which Association Industry would also be a major beneficiary. Chief Executive of the Association, Sechuma Kabwa, has been explaining to Joy Business what caused them to review their plan.
Why were we aiming at doing that? It was to fill a gap. And the gap has been that we don't have solid development financing in the system. The commercial banks that we know are providing commercial funding. They are doing their best, but that is what they can do. So there was that gap, and it's the reason why we were interested in pushing this agenda. So we really had good intentions and had really solid plans to do this. I think the dynamics are changing now, and today AGI, because the industries needed funds badly, and therefore asking industry to also come out to the bank and on land, it was going to be a bit of a challenge. But we have not completely abandoned the idea.
So it's still on the table.
We are happy that government is coming up with something, and we are supporting government to implement it. And I'm sure that in its implementation, government will take account of our interests.
Sechuma Kabwa is Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries. To the stock market, if you're an investor in CalBank, well, the value of each share held was up by 4 pesos to close at 68 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. And Evans, all the airlines are now coming into Accra. So looks like you can connect to any major destination around the world.
So the Kotoka is now operating at full tilt.
You could say that the major airlines, you have Emirates.
So if I want to fly to London tonight,
obviously
BA
you
is
can
available.
catch BA, Emirates is there, KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines is also there as well.
I mean, but just bear in mind, when you're going to the Kotoka International Airport, you have to arrive there 4 hours ahead of the flight because you have to go to COVID-19 testing here before you travel.
Apart from what you do privately as well.
Yeah. I mean, so just bear that in mind before you step foot at the Kotoka International Airport. George, thank you very much.
All right.
You're still listening to News Nights on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the National Democratic Congress's free primary healthcare policy will be funded with oil revenues, among other sources of funding. Now, this was revealed by former CEO for the National Health Insurance Authority, Sylvester Mensah, who is a spokesperson on health for the NDC Manifesto Committee. Now, the proposed policy is the NDC's flagship promise in the manifesto, dubbed Jobs and Progress for All, the People's Manifesto. Now, speaking to Daniel Datsi on Prime Morning on the Joy Prime Television, Mr. Mensah spelled out how it will be funded.
The idea is one, introduce additional funding into the health insurance scheme, and we have spoken about ensuring that we enforce the Health Insurance Act to ensure that the Ministry of Finance pays all the NHI levy collected into the health insurance fund within 1 month of collection. So the tendency of applying these funds for other purposes is completely eradicated. We are going to ensure that the issue of capping and the realignment of health insurance funds will be completely eliminated. So all funds accruing under the health insurance levy would be given to the health insurance scheme. But in addition to that, we're also saying in our policy that we're going to exclude the health insurance levy from all VAT exemptions. That would also help in raking in additional funding for the health insurance scheme. We're also talking about assigning a percentage of our oil revenue to the health insurance scheme, and also legislate and assign a percentage of motor insurance premium as well as vehicle licensing fee to all support the health insurance scheme.
When the current administration increased the ABFA contribution to education because of free SHS, they were accused of using the ABFA funding for non-capital expenditure. And the NHIA is also not capital expenditure. Aren't you doing exactly what was criticized by?
Well, I mean, using that for the health care of your people, using that to address an emotive issue, a very emotional issue of life and death, I guess it's a little different from using it for any other thing. We think that the health of our people is so critical.
That was the argument the MPP raised, that the education of the citizenry was also critical.
If you don't have life, you cannot even enjoy any level of education. Life is primary. Life is critical. Life is an emotive issue, and I guess that there's no better way to spend our oil resources among all Ghanaians, all citizens, than to apply it on their health.
Well, he also showed Ghanaians that the promise will not suffer the fate of the NHIA, or the one-time premium promise, which did not see the light of day.
The statement describing actions as Sakawa boys has not.
NDC promised a one-time premium payment. Stakeholders disagreed with the policy implementation and advised the government to put it on the back burner. And before then, there has been a policy directive from Cabinet to the health insurance scheme and the ministry to implement one-time premium.
But that's
so it is not
to the commitment you made to the people of government.
Of course, if you make a commitment to the people, and the people come back to you and say that, don't do this. Mind you, what we have now is a people's manifesto. It's a manifesto that we have generated from the people. We have learned from the way we developed our previous manifesto, where we assemble knowledgeable people, experts in the field, sit down and think for the country. Of course, one-time premium might have come out as a product of that process.
I want to bring in the chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, Dr. Gabriel Benako, joins us on the telephone line right now on this. Doc, thank you for your time here on Newsline. What do you make of this particular promise? You're now getting some details about how the NDC plans to fund this if they win government. One of the sources of funding will be oil revenues. What's your take?
Yeah, thank you, and good evening to everybody in Ghana, including the former CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority. I believe he will recognize this voice, and I've met him several times. So whatever I'm saying, he knows that I've already made that point when he was the CEO. What the coalition was saying in 2015, in fact, in one of the health summits, we officially wrote to him that he should facilitate the process for the national health insurance to be decoupled. The law should be amended so that they can receive direct funding to be able to reduce that burden of the vicious cycle of delay in payment. So, 6 years down the lane, he is part of the team that is now recognizing what we said. But the most important thing is we need to have innovative way of financing health in Ghana. There are so many avenues we could look at in financing health, including the national health insurance. And one of the ways which I talk about severally was one, to amend the law to allow the NHIA to receive direct funding and use that to plan for their own affairs.
Yeah, but if we use that means, will that be adequate, for example, for the mineral revenue, the oil revenues that we've heard now about, to fund this proposed free primary health care? Well, that is a viable option.
The PIAC I 2 weeks ago, I was a panel to discuss about financing health in Ghana. And I made it so clear that we need to finance the health using part of the oil revenue, not all. But I also made 3 major proposals how we can finance, supplement. The second one is that the private sector, those who are mining, the mining industry, both the small scale and the companies that we lease lands to them to mine, we could get revenue there to finance health. We could also get revenue from the timber industry. There's a lot of waste in the timber industry that mobilize all this to support that. So we think that it is doable, but that one alone will not be enough.
Okay.
Because the oil revenue has other things to do.
Of course, and we've seen how
we could look at it in a very practical and holistic way.
Yeah, we've seen how for the incumbent government, they are using the oil revenues to fund the free SHS policy. Dr. Benaku, thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. I want to bring in my colleague Baba now, who is joining us with the latest from the world of sports via Zoom. Hello, Baba.
Hi, Evans. And Ghana has been directed by World Football Governing Body FIFA to start using the video-assisted referee (VAR) technology at all official matches in the next 3 years. Ghana Football Association referees manager Alex Cote says he and a colleague have undergone some training to facilitate the implementation.
VAR is coming to Ghana. VAR will come to Ghana. CAF and FIFA organized an online course for selected instructors in Africa. In fact, we were about 68, 2 from Ghana, Emanuela Aglago, and then myself. FIFA is saying that the next 3 years, VAR must go to all member associations. Member associations must begin to accept this concept and let it become part of our football. It is just in line with the club licensing, and so there's nothing much to fear.
So what does it take to do this VAR? And then what this will mean, Evans, is that unless dubious referee-assisted penalties at certain match venues will most likely be reduced, if not completely eradicated. And like I asked, what does it really take to implement the VAR in Ghana? And will it have to take 3 years? Here's Kofi Tando, a broadcast engineer with knowledge of the African sports broadcasting landscape.
So VAR really is not anything difficult to implement. It's not rocket science. And to be honest, if we have to deploy VAR in the next 3 months in Ghana, I think we already have what it takes. We have a few facilities that can execute VAR. The only setback I see for implementing VAR in Ghana in the next 3 months is the production capacity has to increase, because what we do is usually 6 to 8 cameras, and VAR will demand a lot more cameras around the pitch than we normally do.
And finally, Evans, Serena Williams is through to the semi-finals of the U.S. Open Championship. She beat Svetlana Pironkova in 3 sets. She lost the first set 6-4, but went on to win the subsequent 2 6-3, 6-2. That's your sport.
Baba, thank you very much. So listen to Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, a peaceful demonstration against NDC flag bearer John Mahama over here is a Chim Sakawa Boys repost, which has become such a controversial matter. Nearly 10 bloody when some chiefs clashed with the police over the firing of musketry. Now, leader of the war wing of the Achim and chief of Apapam, Osaberima Okojiman Apeja Afori's gun was seized by the police when they got to the convergence point. Now, the police insisted they will not allow the firing of musketry during the demonstration, but the chiefs insisted, and this led to a confrontation. Well, after hours of the back and forth, the citizens then continued with their largely peaceful protest. The group, however, they've given the former president, John Mahama, 3-day ultimatum to render an apology. And you had the chief, who of course led the group today in the demonstrations in the his name is the Osa Berima. He of course leads them when it comes to the war wing of their chief of Apapam, Osa Berima, Osajiman Apeja Ofori. Now, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia yesterday handed over a 2-bedroom house to 80-year-old Daripoga, who had all 10 fingers and toes except the big ones chopped off as a result of leprosy. Daripoga contracted the disease during her childhood and had all her relatives, including her children, abandon her. She was living under squalid and inhuman conditions until a hotline documentary by Seth Kwame Boateng changed her life. Joy News Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has this report.
She has not entered any competition and won an award. Neither has she won any lottery. It is the price of good and impactful journalism. Join with Seth Kwame Boateng in a hotline documentary titled Withered Skins, highlighted the squalid and dehumanizing conditions she has been living under at an outlandish Motoro community. Daripoga contracted leprosy at an early age and as a result had all 10 fingers and toes except the big ones chopped off. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was touched when he watched the documentary and directed Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali to donate some food items and 2,000 Ghana cedis for her upkeep, and secondly, construct a modest house for her. Construction of the 2-bedroom house, hall, and other ancillary facilities took off immediately after the donation, and within 7 weeks, the house was ready for the octogenarian to live a once loved, jaded, death-trapped mud-built structure that will not even pass for pen for animals in peri-urban areas. Vice President Dr. Bawumia defied the rain and rolled into the Motoro community, walking in a muddy, slippery tiny farm road to hand over the house to Daripoga.
And just to see the smile on her face with her grandchild Ajara, who is here, really brings so much pleasure to my heart, and I'm sure she's also very, very happy. And I think this is how we should, live as, people here in Ghana and in the world. We should take care of the very poor and the vulnerable. In her state, she is not able to work and all of that. But we should also know that cured lepers are not people that should be ostracized, and they are not people that should be abandoned. Cured lepers cannot pass on the leprosy to you. Once they are cured, they are cured.
Daripoga was grateful to the Vice President for the kind gesture.
She's the one that has been rejected and thinking that others were thinking that she would have eaten grass. But today she has also seen that she has gotten a very nice food to put her head. So she and her entire family are for Kukudu and not for any other.
A debate was later held in honor of the Vice President, where the community members tabled the challenges they are facing. Few months ago, Daripoga was scorned and ostracized and will not even be allowed to be part of any decision regarding the development of the community. Today, he is in the middle and the heart that their development revolves. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Motori.
Well, Rafiq is on the line. Rafiq, how's the community reacting to this? And I have Seth also who did this in the studio with me. Rafiq?
Hello, sir. Hello, Evans.
How's the community reacting to all this?
The community are grateful to what the Vice President did for Darapoko because this is something that for them that they have never expected. And even when the promise of a house, construction of a house, they thought it was going to be a fluke. But it was something that was executed in a record 7 weeks' time. So they are happy.
And Seth, has a old lady now moved into the building and is pretty sure she's sleeping quite comfortably.
Yeah,
now.
we saw her in her living room, seated on the sofa provided, and intermittently went to her bedroom to feel the beds that have been provided in the
so not just one bed, just a couple. So thank you very much for that good work. Let's, of course, bring in my colleague, Enimo Animado, and she's coming up with Strong and Sassy.
Strong and Sassy. Hello, Evans. How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm very, very well. That was Evans Mensah with News Night. Thank you for bringing us all the news and everything we need to know. And good evening and welcome. This is Strong and Sassy, and we start right after this.